Amorim has had enough of the shit from these players at United.
We are being the worst team, maybe, in the history of Manchester United. We have to acknowledge that.
He clearly feels he now has to say this to the press to get a reaction because everything he's tried behind the scenes hasn't worked. Watching United lose against Brighton and get outplayed, unsurprising and almost expected. He can't trust his players. And we need to talk about the biggest takeaways from that Brighton game because this feels like a bit of a defining moment to me. Yep, it's been a rollercoaster so far for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. But that game against Brighton and that reaction from Ruben Amorim, I think will become a bit of a defining moment for him. Hopefully one that we look back on as when a switch happened. But I'm going to run through the most important takeaways from that game because there are some that I think we need to take forward. And number one on that list is, look, you can't ignore those comments from Amorim. They are the headline. He knew they were the headline. He said that. He had the awareness of it. But for Ruben to say that, and the reason I'm saying that that might be a moment which, kind of defines Ruben Amorim's United era, or in the future anyway. He's so far very much defended his players, and at Sporting, throughout his entire Sporting career, he defended his players. It's not attacking individuals, it's pointing out the collective poorness of United's team. But for him to already be in a position where he feels the necessity to do that is a bit of a switch in how Ruben approaches and manages. All the stuff that he has been trying behind the scenes hasn't worked, hasn't got the reaction that he needed to get from these players, and he's probably frustrated in seeing the repeated similar problems. Spoke after the game about how I can't really believe that we were undone by that goal at the start. This is not verbatim, because we worked on it. We knew that the centre-back was going to step up and get balls over the top, and then within 5 minutes, we got undone by it. So he is probably reached a point now where he's like, what else am I supposed to do? You're not listening. Will this get the reaction? I don't know. But I think that's what Ruben Amorim is trying. And I'll tell you what, the pundits are going to hold on to it. Number two on my list, I want to speak about the individual errors. How can you not speak about the individual errors in that game against Brighton? I've got the photo of the second error from Onana, but the first one was equally as poor. Letting the cross go across him, he stepped forward, hesitated, stepped back, watched, could easily have collected that ball had he not hesitated. But that second one, it really is like a Hall of Fame mistake. Onana, no one near him, fumbles the ball, game over. And when it comes to United's this season, individual errors have hurt us so often, whether it's been the glaring misses and the amount of big chances that United have missed, or defensively, lots of the errors that we've had early this season. Onana was probably one of our best players for the first few months of this season. Goalkeepers, I feel sorry for them for the fact that if they have a mistake, it invariably leads to a goal and everything gets magnified. But Onana, it's your second season. You have to be less forgiving in the second season, and that sort of level of mistake is just down to focus. You can't build anything around teams that have those levels of mistakes, and Onana's got plenty of them. So that was a bad one. And number three on my list, I want to speak about the mistakes I think Amorim made in that game, because I think he did make some mistakes. I keep saying it, you all say it, we're all seeing it. Playing Dalot and Mazraoui as our wing-backs is hurting the team. We're not progressive enough. We drop into a deeper back five more often than not, which I think is the purpose right now with how bad we are going forward, but it's also hindering our ability to be better going forward. It should be Ahmad as one of the wing-backs. And it should be a Dalot or Mazraoui, probably at left wing-back. You could throw Madassia in there, but I think Amorim's made his mind up. Otherwise, we would have seen more of him. We would have seen Harry Mas make his debut if he thought he was ready. He doesn't. Hence why we're seeing these two as the two wing-backs, and it's hurting us. It's hurting that team. And I tell you what, I thought on paper going into this season, it looked like Ugarte and Mainu was the best duo on paper. And if you look at the performance away at Liverpool, performance away at Arsenal, again, I think United were far more solid, and there was a lot less space for Ugarte and Mainu to cover in midfield. When you're trying to be more controlling, far from what United have been these last couple of games, I know. But in the way that we are playing, and if you introduce more of a front press, there's more space for Ugarte and Mainu to cover. I think that's where the weakness comes in. Also, I don't particularly think either of those two players are the tempo controller, if you want to call it that. That's why Bruno kind of drops into that position more often than not in a game. Neither of them are your Frankie de Jong type player. Ugarte he breaks up play and he's good at the short passes, but there's limitations to both of their games, and playing them both together, I don't think is the best option. But then I say that and go, well, Sam, what would the solution be? And maybe it would be playing Bruno deeper, but I don't particularly like Bruno deeper either. Anyway, that's number 3 on the list. Number 4 on the list, I want to speak about the fact that, geez, how many times have I said this now? Ruben Amorim cannot trust these players. To go from that against Liverpool and Arsenal to that against Southampton and Brighton, it's just, Amorim must just be looking at them and going, it doesn't really matter what you tell me before a game. It doesn't really matter what you did on the training pitch. None of that matters. And it's all kind of thrown out the window a little bit, because on a match day, absolutely anything can happen. Doesn't matter if we worked on a specific plan, like against Brighton, their centre-back's going to step up and probably bring balls over the top, because after 4 minutes, you're going to get undone by it by the first ball. Did you really listen to what we did in training this week? He can't really. But then saying that, this is the confusing part of it. You can trust them to execute a plan because they did it so well away at Liverpool and Arsenal in adverse situations when we had 10 men for 60 minutes. You can't even trust the fact that you can't trust these players, because sometimes you can. It's just the ultimate confusion. And Amorim must be going absolutely bonkers trying to figure out what it is, just like every other manager post-Fergie. And number 5 on my list, United need a transfer boost. It has to happen in January. Now, United are in talks with Lecce over a move for Patrick Dorgu. He plays at left wing back. Would be a massive upgrade for what we have. Is he a complete player though? No, he's raw. He's 20. Physical upgrade, athlete, great out of possession, can play left wing back, can also play on the right hand side, can also play as a winger as well. Not that you play him there, but he's comfortable going forward in the attacking sense. That would be a boost to our current options. And he goes straight into the starting 11. And then you need United to nail it when it comes to sales. Or not even sales. Just exits. We've got the here we go for Anthony. That leaves us slightly short up front. My personal opinion is that we can replace the minutes that Anthony gets with a youth team player. And I don't think that would be too much of a stretch. And then we need to find a solution with the Rashford situation. The latest is that there's still doubts about his salaries, which has been the case the entire time. But nothing new was learned against Brighton, was it? It was just compounding the problems and that just keep mounting. And then you're not allowed nice things for more than a week or two. Not United. The consistency still can't go past 14 days, it seems. You can let me know what you think in the comments below, but I think they're the main takeaways, and I go back to it and I'll say it again. That was such an important decision. He had the awareness of it, say after, by the way, I know I've given you your headlines. He knew the impact that would have, but he's hoping for the impact that will have internally, maybe above him with Ineos, or maybe below him with the players. But Ruben's trying to get a reaction, whatever way he can.